Welcome to the Bible Prophecy Transformation course. This first video is on the four horsemen of the apocalypse, and my name is Matt Wilson. And so today I want to talk about 7 lines for 7 seals. And so you can see that I have the 7 seals here. They're real short, and I'm going to go through how I got these. This took many years to actually figure out. So let's walk through these a little bit. This particular video is on the first 4, but I also show the last 3 too. So on this first seal, I have it as America dropping the atomic bomb on Japan. But notice in the 4th seal, it's America also, but in this case, America is getting wiped out. And the 2nd seal is 9/11. And the 3rd seal is Isaiah 17, where Israel nukes Damascus, Syria. Just real quickly, take a look at these. Here, Rome falls due to nuclear terrorism, and Iran is behind it. And then about 9 months later, NATO attacks Iran, and then obviously Iran is going to retaliate. So there's going to be a big nuclear war. Now, one of the things I argue in a later video is that this may be the Mystery Babylon right here, where she is getting drunk on the blood of saints right here, and then where she gets wiped out is right here. But that's for future. And then the last one is the rise of the Antichrist. So the rest of this is, well, how did I get this? So the overall assumptions are as follows. So I asked, well, what is a seal? And so gradually what emerged over time is that seals are a series of shocks along the entire end time period. And a shock is a labor pain or a harvest. So if you see a labor pain or a harvest, that it's some kind of a shock. And every seal is a nuclear attack except the 2nd seal. So there you go. And another thing that I know everybody just kind of blows off is Revelation 1:3, and that is, it basically says that you'll be blessed if you read and obey the words in Revelation. So the seals have to be helpful. So if your interpretations aren't helpful, then that's a problem. Next, you can clearly see the seals open, so you have to break them. And here you can clearly see it. And then the seal gets the attention of the entire world. And then finally, to make my interpretations work, we have to be in the end time period now. So here's Revelation 1:3. Blessed is he who reads and those who hear the words of this prophecy and keep those things which are written in it, for the time is near. In other words, listen and obey, and you will be blessed by the words in Revelation. What does it mean to be blessed? Well, avoid death, avoid calamity, or bad decisions. So therefore, when you're trying to interpret each seal, you can't just do whatever you want. You have to be helpful. In other words, I need to be able to react to them in time, or know when they are so I can get out of the way. The harvest. Let both the wheat and tares grow together until the harvest, and at the time of the harvest I will say to the reapers, first gather together the tares and bind them in bundles to burn them. So that's kind of what I'm saying is, well, before Jesus gets here, this is going to happen, this harvest of the tares, and he's going to burn them. And that's really what this is about. So the end time period. So from Matthew 24, so you also, when you see all these things, know that it is near at the doors. Assuredly I say to you, this generation will by no means pass away till all these things take place. Okay, so what does that mean? Let's take today. Take everybody alive on planet Earth today. How long will it take before they're all dead? And I'm saying about 100 years, even though that's technically not quite right. You might have a handful of people that live beyond 100 years, but out of the whole planet in 100 years, almost every single person will be dead. So I'm saying that the end time period probably lasts about 100 years, maybe less, and could be maybe a little bit more, but I'm guessing 100 years or less. Okay, so now this one here, even though I have the first seal, we're not focusing on the first seal. What we're focusing on is come and see. Okay, so that the first four seals, they all say come and see, and some of them say I saw or I looked. Okay, and so you can see with your own eyes the seals opening. And so the seals open with a big bang. America drops the atomic bomb on Japan, World Trade Center falls, Damascus falls, America falls, Rome falls, Europe and Iran and other countries fall. In each case, there's an attack that shocks the world. So that's what you're looking for. And so when I first started studying the seals, I gravitated to the fourth seal because it was something that I could see coming with my own eyes. I mean, I could basically see that Russia and China and America, I could see them kind of moving on a path that could lead to war. And then I said to myself, well, it looks a lot like the fourth seal. So let's take a look at it. When he opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth living creature saying, come and see. So I looked, and behold, a pale horse. I'm going to get back to this pale horse thing a little later. And the name of him who sat on it was Death, and Hades followed with him. And power was given to them over a fourth of the earth to kill with sword, hunger, death, and by the beasts of the earth. Well, if you have a big nuclear war, you're going to have fallout on other countries. So the other countries are going to suffer too. And that's going to add to the deaths. So you have your initial nuclear attack, and then the fallout is probably going to add even more, a lot more deaths. So I'm saying this is a nuclear shock that takes out about a quarter of the planet. And as I said earlier, that there is tension between US, Russia, and China. So a war is possible, but you need something to start it. And also it's impossible to predict. But we're in a situation now like where we're a forest that's an older forest that's ready to burn down to the ground. But that doesn't mean, just because it's ready doesn't mean it will burn down to the ground. You have to wait. You have to wait for the right conditions. Like for the forest, a hot summer and then a spark. Well, that you might have to wait 10, 20 years before that finally happens. So if there were a war between America, Russia, and China, how could it possibly start? Well, points of conflict with China include Taiwan and the Senkaku Islands, which are owned by Japan. So if China tries to invade Taiwan and we go to their help, that could be a problem. Or in the Senkaku Islands in the East China Sea, if Japan and China get into an incident where some Chinese soldiers die, and then it starts escalating, then America has to jump in. That could also lead to a big war. And then another points of conflict would be with Syria and Ukraine. And so then I asked the question, well, what would happen if Israel nuked Syria? Now, if you look at the Russian nuclear doctrine, basically it says if itself or any of its allies are nuked, then it reserves the right to nuke back. So is that what's going on here? Maybe. So the next question is, what color is a dead white horse? We know that when you die, a person dies or an animal dies, within minutes the blood starts flowing away from the small blood vessels in the skin and it changes color. And so obviously for a white horse it would turn pale. So then the question is the pale horse in the fourth seal the same as the white horse in the first seal? And I'm arguing the answer is yes. but this just kind of adds confirmation to it. Okay, so if the fourth seal is coming up soon, where's the second seal? So, second seal, conflict on earth. When he opened the second seal, I heard the living creature saying, "Come and see." Another horse, fiery red, went out, and it was granted to the one who sat on it to take peace from the earth, and the people should kill one another, and there was given to him a great sword. And so what I'm saying is the great sword is a sword of Islam. Take peace from the earth doesn't mean terrorism, it means nuclear war. So Islam's going to be behind a lot of nuclear wars, either directly or indirectly. And people should kill one another means terrorism. And so I'm saying that this seal opened on 9/11/2001. So the next question is, well, what about the third seal? The problem with the third seal is that it is exceptionally difficult to understand. And I probably thought about this every single day for a couple of years before I finally got it. So, although the actual interpretation is very simple, but getting there is not simple. Okay, so when he opened the third seal, I heard the third living creature say, "Come and see." So I looked, and behold, a black horse, and he that sat on it had a pair of scales in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four living creatures saying, "A quart of wheat for a denarius, and 3 quarts of barley for a denarius. Do not harm the oil and the wine." So, is this really scarcity, or is it a judgment? Because you have the pair of scales for judging. And I'm saying, of course, that yeah, it's actually a judgment. So, but then we have the issue of the, what does the wheat mean, and what does the barley mean? What does this mean? And then we have, well, what is oil and wine? So now I'm arguing that the oil and wine is Israel, although it's not entirely clear, but it seems to fit in with the fourth seal. And so as of now, I'm saying that this is Israel. Now the question is, what's the judgment? So if we go to Daniel 5, the writing on the wall, what we learn is that when judgment is announced, that the punishment follows. So that in the third seal, you have the balances, that's the announcement of a judgment, and then it goes right into the wheat and barley. That's the judgment. Alright, so what's wheat and barley? Well, if you go into Exodus 9, you can see that there's a judgment of mighty hail on Egypt because of its treatment of the Jews. In the judgment, the wheat survived and the barley was destroyed. So 1 quart of wheat and 3 quarts of barley mean that 1 part survives and 3 parts die. So here's the total interpretation of the third seal. You have been weighed in the scales. In return for what you have paid out, the denarius, you will get 1 portion of life, wheat, and 3 portions of death's barley. Do not harm Israel. And so this looks a lot like Isaiah 17, and that 75% of its neighbors are going to get wiped out. And then what I'm saying is that when this happens, that within a year, America will be destroyed in retaliation by Russia and China. Now, Isaiah 18 kind of hints that this would happen in the spring, and I agree that if you're going to launch a surprise nuclear attack, if you're Russia, you don't even fully come out of winter till May. So you'd want to do it around the middle of May, and then China is really big on symbolism. So May 14th is the anniversary of Israel's independence, or the founding of Israel was on that date, May 14th. And so, I would say that if you had to guess about a surprise nuclear war, that if you pick the middle of May, plus or minus a week, and then you put special focus on May 14th, that those would be really a real vulnerable time. Okay, now the first seal I got to last. Now I saw when the beast opened one of the seals, and I heard one of the four living creatures saying with a voice like thunder. By the way, now I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals. Okay, Jesus is opening the seals. Jesus is doing this. These shocks, calamities, nuclear attacks, Jesus is causing this. And so yeah, so now we come and see, so we can see it, and look and behold, a white horse. He who sat on it had a bow, and a crown was given to him, and he went out conquering and to conquer. So come and see, that's the shock, bow, long range attack capability, crown, a king. He went out conquering and to conquer. Well, what does that mean? So if he went out conquering, I'm saying that he did conquer, but if you go out to conquer, we don't know the outcome. Just because you went out to conquer doesn't mean you did it. Maybe you failed. So what could this be? Well, the answer is it could be a lot of things. They just don't give you enough information here to make a determination. And so what happens is, based on my seal assumptions, the answer basically just falls out. Well, if 9/11 is the second seal, then we just go back in time, probably around the creation of Israel, and look for some big shock. And that was in 1945 when the U.S. dropped the atomic bomb. And so then you say to yourself, could America fit this? And the answer is yes, but of course other things could fit it too. But since I have this shock requirement, America, based on my general assumptions about the seals, America fits this the best. So the beginning of the nuclear age is the beginning of the end time. Okay, so the first four seals are complete. Seal 3 gives us timing information about Seal 4. So if Seal 3 opens, that's where Israel nukes Syria, then America needs to prepare for retaliation by Russia and China. So what you need to do is you need to either leave America before the next spring or prepare for nuclear war. And that's how you'll be blessed. And so in the next video, I will look at American Bible prophecy and the prospect of a big war. So that's it. Thanks.